today's episode of the Story Detective, I have an unboxing. It's another lightsaber unboxing. In here is a Graflex replica. It's from LGHTSaber, and we are going to see how it holds up and also give a little bit of history on the Graflex for those of my viewers who don't know what exactly this is and where it came from. So we're going to talk a little bit about the history behind the lightsaber and this particular lightsaber. I want to say a couple of words before we get into the actual unboxing about the customer service at LGT. Now, I talked to Vera, who was very nice. You deal with real people. We dealt through Messenger, and she kept me informed the entire way. I can't say there was any better experience with any company that I've dealt with. So as far as being really personal and really nice, definitely LGT has a good support team on their customer service. So let's get on with it and let's see what's in the box, shall we? Transcendent custom lightsaber. Now, for those of you who don't know what a Graflex is, it's the lightsaber that was in the first Star Wars movie that belonged to Luke Skywalker, that belonged to Anakin, and eventually got passed on to Rey. Okay, there's the lightsaber, but let's see what else is here first. Everything is packed and taped down pretty well. There's a battery charger. Okay, so we have a blade plug, which is Neopixel. Also pretty neat. It looks like there's a lightsaber stand here. Okay, acrylic stand. There's the other pieces to the stand. I will leave those right in there. Let's get on with the lightsaber itself. Ooh, it immediately has a nice weight to it, but these are solid metal for anyone who's not a collector or anyone who's seen any of my other videos. I believe this is essentially the same hilt as the '89 Sabers Graflex, installed by LGHTSaber. It's a nice movie-accurate prop, made up of 3 interlocking pieces. There's something very satisfying about taking apart a Graflex. There's a real sense of history dating back to the 1940s when comic book superheroes and science fiction stories were shown in serialized format on Saturdays at the local movie theater, which not so coincidentally inspired George Lucas to write his epic space opera decades later. The Graflex is the original lightsaber, given to Luke Skywalker by Obi-Wan Kenobi, originally belonging to Luke's father Anakin, and inherited by Rey in the latest trilogy. Set designer for the original Star Wars film, Roger Christian, is the man responsible for the iconic Graflex lightsaber design. Roger went to Brunning's photography store in London to purchase lenses for Luke Skywalker's binoculars. The film had a low budget, so they were inventing things out of scraps of junk. And so Roger was in charge of inventing a laser sword, what he referred to as the Excalibur of the Star Wars saga. While at the camera shop, Roger asked if they had anything interesting in terms of parts they weren't using. He was shown to a number of dusty boxes beneath a counter across the room, and when he pulled one of the boxes open, he took out a flash gun from a 1940s press camera. His immediate thought was, "This is it, the Holy Grail." Racing back to the studio, he dressed it up with T-grips on the handle and a bubble strip from an old calculator and showed it to George Lucas,
who smiled his approval and told Roger to add a D-ring. One of the most popular pieces of pop cultural history was born. Much to the chagrin of camera enthusiasts, this has also driven up the prices as well. A flash gun in excellent condition can sell for nearly $1,000, and that's without electronics installed. I have waited very patiently for one I could afford. Like most electronic gadgets, prices have come down over time, thanks to manufacturers like LGTSABER. I've said it before, collecting lightsaber replicas is not a cheap hobby by any means, but LGT has several levels available, either with or without electronics. I've left a link to their Facebook group in the description box below, where you can request their current catalog, and they're very fast in getting back to you as well.
Battery is charged. I wanted to get a look at this 3D printed chassis. That soundboard in there is a Proffie V2.2, which is much nicer than what you'd find in a lot of pre-assembled manufactured sabers. And the sound card you can pull out and program with various sound fonts, light effects. If you're not familiar with Neopixel, we will find out exactly what that does in a few minutes. It also has a neat little place to hold the speaker, and the speaker comes with this little cap which covers it. So it's kind of protected in there. Let's put the battery in. It's got a nice little chassis cover. It's definitely better than a lot of the basic plain covers that I've seen. At least it has a bit of design and etching, and I think that's pretty nice. Putting this back together, this is the clamp that it came with, which is a basic Graflex clamp. I had this one because saber collectors just usually buy these things. So I had this one from another lightsaber that I purchased, and I was going to use a Graflex clamp on it, but that lightsaber was actually too fat to fit the clamp, so I had this. This one, as you can see, doesn't have the Graflex logo printed on there. When I first saw the logo, I thought it's more realistic not to have it in some ways, because would Luke Skywalker have a lightsaber with the name Graflex printed on it? But this is more authentic to the actual Graflex flash gun, because it did have that on there, so I prefer this and those little authentic and historical details. I took the card out of this one and put it here. So basically what you would do is slide that on carefully, because you don't want to scratch anything. Fit it in the groove. Once in the groove, you can line it up where you want it to be lined up. Then take that back in there. Again, fit it right into the groove where you see those little notches. Turn it. Once you've got it locked in place to where you want it to be, close the clamp, and you're set. And there it is. I think that's a nice little detail. Add something authentic. This does have a glass eye, by the way, and the bunny ears do work, which again is very authentic to an original Graflex flash gun. You can see if I took the D-ring off, you could see it more clearly, but it still has the original prints from the Graflex 3-cell on the back of it. So the details are really very nice on this. Has the right color button, has the tab, has the little brass connectors or pins. So really a very nice job on this. And we are going to put the blade in, fire it up, and get an idea of what this does. Now remember, these are the sound fonts and the lights that were pre-programmed when I bought this. You can buy others. You can buy a lot of others. The blades, by the way, are shipped separately in a tube. I didn't want to waste time unboxing the blade and going through all that, so let's pull out the blade plug. Okay, and once it's firmly in there, you would normally tighten the screw again, but it's in there pretty solidly unless you're going to really knock it around.
Before we light this up and demonstrate, this is the part where there's going to be some flashing lights and effects that may affect people that have light sensitivity or epilepsy. Not all of the effects have a lot of flash, but some of them do. And that's what Neopixel does with the light effects. You have a lot of different types of effects. To change the color or the effect, you hold down this little knob on the side and then press the button. It goes to the next one.
Smooth fuzz. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
And yes, there are Star Wars themes on this. You can play music, but I don't want to get a copyright strike, so I won't play the music. But if I were to hold down the button for a couple of seconds, it would start playing music from Star Wars.
Lord Vader. Luke Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker's not really yellow, but you could program this to be any color you want. Like I said, these are random colors that come with the lightsaber, but a nice yellow. And while it's on, if you hold that, you can get blaster effects. That's like when the sabers are together and they're clashing. So you would just hold down the button, give it a tap. There's some flamey effects on this that I want to find. It's more of an orange.
Smooth Jedi. Teensy.
Kind of neat the way it kind of comes to life on that one. I like that one.
Teensy.
That lightsaber was Luke's.
Smooth Jedi. Teensy.
And there you have some of the basics on what Neopixel does and what the LGT Graflex does. Don't expect anything too fancy since I'm left-handed and I had surgery and it's still not 100%. So right-handed, this is a little tricky. I don't want to drop it. Until next time, may the Force be with you!